There are many books out there that talk about Bitcoin, but how many movies have you actually seen that can share the message in a relatable manner and that are actually good? In this episode, I talked to Bitcoin Shooter, who's a filmmaker working on exactly that. His project is named 21fs.tv, and it's going to be a movie about Bitcoin. He's going to travel the world to produce it and talk to many people, and he's going to share it from the perspective of the problem first, which is inflation, and then present Bitcoin as a solution. He's also done a video on El Salvador, which is called Comeback Country. It's a story about the civil war, the drug wars, and Bukele's and Bitcoin, and it looks at it from a perspective of the people on the ground. So it's better than traditional media. In this podcast, we talk to Bitcoiners and expats about their stories and their projects. If you like this podcast, please share it so others can enjoy the content too. And once again, thank you for listening. Hello, Bitcoin shooter, independent filmmaker working on Bitcoin projects. Thank you for joining me on my podcast, Bitcoin Expat Stories. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Everything's great. Can't complain. Another day alive. Yeah, man. Everything's great.
That's great, man. I remember we met in El Salvador back in November. It was the last day of the conference in the party in El Tunco. I don't know if you remember. We had a chat. We had a couple
Yeah.
drinks. Yeah, and I remember
Yeah,
you
yeah, by the
specifically.
bar.
Yeah, by the bar. I remember you specifically because you were like, "Hey, let's add each other on Twitter and let's take a picture so that we can like remember that we chatted at this precise moment." And and I've been doing that ever since with other people because I just thought it's such a great idea because you meet so many people you just saying, "Hey, it's like this is my name, it's Gustavo," and people don't remember the moment precisely when they met you, and this is just a great way of remembering that, right?
Yeah. In Bitcoin, some people are about privacy, right? They don't want to share their name. And it made me realize that the name, I don't remember names anyway. It's really about the person's face, right? Like that's the most unique thing. And so when you see someone's face, you have an idea of, oh, I've seen that face before, and then things start to come back. So yeah, like eventually you have like 10 Matts in your phone, or like 10 like Carlos's, and yeah,
Yeah,
you need to have a picture to know who it is. So yeah, it makes things easy. I'm glad you're doing it, man.
yeah, exactly. It makes total sense. All right, well, before we start getting into your projects, I want to talk about all the projects you have online, such as Bitcoin Shooter, 21FS, and matchmystacks.com. But before we get into that, maybe tell us a bit about your story, your background, so the people that don't know you can hear it directly from you.
Yeah, so I'm a filmmaker, so we'll start with that. Um, I started making home movies when I was really young, and then my family, we had a family business, and I worked in the family business and kind of saved money to be able to buy like a better cameras and things like that as I got older. And so yeah, eventually I ended up doing a video for a business, and then like for free, and then I did a couple more, and then eventually, people wanted to pay me to do it, so I started doing it, and yeah, and then it just kind of grew from there. And so um, in terms of like getting into the Bitcoin space, I had filmed some things for Max Keiser back in 2021, just like not coincidentally, but like it was a long shot. Like I sent them a message on a live chat on one of their live like orange pill microdoses or whatever,
Right.
and offered my camera services because I was going to be at their show in Austin anyway. And so yeah, like she saw it and like literally like told me to reach out. And so yeah, that's kind of how I got put on the Bitcoin path in terms of like actually making films and producing content in Bitcoin. I got orange pilled probably like a little bit before, a little while before that, and so I just didn't ever, I figured maybe in the future I might be able to blend my career with Bitcoin and do it professionally. But yeah, working with Max and Stacy kind of like, accelerated that. And so yeah, that'll kind of lead into like, what I've done into Bitcoin and everything. But yeah, that's basically who I am. That's what I do.
That's awesome, man. So is that like the parties that they organize sometimes across the country, like the Austin party they did at some point? Was that like an event like that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the first time I worked with them was in Austin. We filmed at a Bitcoin mine out there, pretty big Bitcoin mine. And yeah, and then they did the stand-up show, and then we went to Phoenix. We did Phoenix like a couple of months later, and then El Salvador in November. And he did a show there in El Salvador. So yeah, so I filmed all of them and filmed stuff while I was in El Salvador. And like when I was there in November, I had put this little video together of the turtles being released into the water, and I
Right.
passed it along to Stacy, and Stacy posted it, and like it was like kind of like took off. A lot of people saw it, and so yeah, like shot that day, and then edited it that night, and then shared it with her the next morning, and yeah. So anyway, yes, those were the shows that I started with.
Nice. That's cool. And like, just by the way, like, if you want to share, like, I know you said like you were already like orange pill, but maybe talk about your orange pill story, how you got into Bitcoin because you were listening to the show, you were already a fan, right? So before that,
Yeah,
how was the story before that?
yeah. So like falling down the rabbit hole, like a very good friend of mine was kind of like talking to me about it, about Bitcoin, and like like everybody else, I never really paid attention to it, didn't really care. And then like eventually he started talking to me about, like, I didn't know much about money at all even. So he started talking to me about like fractional reserve banking and how they can lend out so much more than they actually have, and it's creating more dollars, and that's why everything gets more expensive. And I was like, damn, those bastards, man.
Right.
And so he luckily he's somebody that like I really really like he's like a brother. So um I trusted him, and he was like very clear, like it's just Bitcoin. It's none of this other shit. Okay. It's just this, like, don't fuck around with these other things. And like, I was like, cool. I trusted him. Didn't even look into the other things. Like, didn't really care. But of course, everybody, once you kind of fall down that rabbit hole, like you realize you have this void inside of you, and you're like trying to fill it constantly with like information, about money or about Bitcoin or about, there's so much to learn, and you can go deep down any rabbit hole. So um, all of that came mostly from Max Keiser. I forget how I even stumbled upon him. Like I think I saw him going off on Peter Schiff one time. And since I was learning about money for the first time and the terrible things that happen, because of fiat, I was upset, and then he's always upset. So it kind
Yeah,
of like,
of course.
it was perfect. So yeah, so that's kind of how I got to where I was. I mean, like, I basically haven't watched like every Kaiser report, but I've watched hundreds of them, I'm sure, and hundreds of the microdoses and everything like that. So yeah, like if people have their favorite Bitcoiners, like, yeah, it's Max Keiser for sure for me.
He's definitely one of the best for me too, and it's funny. It makes me think that people get like attached to an influencer depending on their style. For you, it was the fact that Max is like always like a bit crazy, a bit mad, and like for you, it just made a connection to how you were feeling, and like I guess for other people, it's other Bitcoiners, other uh, influencers out there because they share a different sentiment, they have a different approach.
Exactly. I mean, have people like literally tell me, like, this guy's not, Max Kaiser isn't good for Bitcoin. He's going to scare people off. It's like, bro, there's flavors for everybody. Like there's every flavor of Bitcoiner out there. So yeah, it's all good. Bitcoin doesn't care. It's all good for Bitcoin.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so then, so you were working, so you got Orange Mail, and then you were listening to Max, and then you got the idea to send them a message. Hey, I can do this for you for you guys, and they, like, to your surprise, or I guess just to your amaze, they answered positively, and then you worked with them at three events, one in Austin, Arizona, and then in El Salvador. And was it during this process that Bitcoin Shooter was born, or was it
Yeah,
after? Like, so how's the story from going from there
yeah,
to Bitcoin Shooter?
it's a good question. Um, so it's interesting because the same way I got into Bitcoin is the same way I started doing my work professionally, right? Like, I did something for free, I did a few things like that. And then like I even did a video for Tone Vase too at his unconfiscatable
Nice.
conference. I could only be there for the first night, which was like the poker night. So I shot this little poker video for them, and it came out like super fucking awesome, you know. And it's cool because as time has gone on, I've met and talked to more of the people that are in my footage from that night, and now I know them better. So when I look back at the footage and at the film, it's like, damn, that's cool. So anyway, yeah. So in El Salvador, though, right, with Max and Stacy, so like I invited myself, right? We did Austin, we did Phoenix, and then I saw them on one of their podcasts saying that they're going to go to El Salvador. So I messaged Stacy. I'm like, okay, so we're going to El Salvador or what? You
Nice.
know? And so yeah, so we ended up going down, and yeah, in terms of like when Bitcoin Shooter was born, um, it was a name that like Max gave to me actually, and I have footage of it too, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, he basically gave me the name, and you know, Bitcoin Shooter is for people who want brevity. My full name, in fact, is Mike the Legendary Bitcoin Shooter, as named by Max Keiser. So yeah, so that's kind of how that happened, and then you know, I didn't like use it or pick it up right away. I was always just Mike, you know, and then you realize there's a lot of mics, you know,
For sure.
and then so like shooter became, you know, cool. Like some people were like kind of put off, like, oh, it reminds me of like shootings, and I'm like, no, no, I shoot film, like, you know. And like fucking Max Keiser gave me the name, like I'm not gonna change it, but it's cool now because you know there's only one shooter, you know, Bitcoin Shooter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it couldn't, like the universe just landed all up, you know, like Max being the guy that like really dug a bunch of information into my head, and then also being the guy that kind of gave me my nim or my Bitcoin name. I mean, yeah.
That's really awesome. That's a great story. I had no idea. But it required boldness from your part, right? To get like reach out to them and like be like you know ambitious about this. Uh, that's awesome. So then you went to El Salvador, and then what happened in El Salvador?
So I had trouble getting there too. I had to renew my passport, and it was during COVID, and it was like a nightmare. I had to fly to El Paso um, the day before my flight, and 2 days before my flight, sleep there, and then in the morning, you know, go in and try to get my passport renewed. I couldn't go anywhere else, like nowhere in LA, nowhere even that was the closest place to me, and I was in LA at the time. So I did that and knocked that out, and then I had the wrong COVID test to get on the flight, so then I missed that flight, and I had to book a flight that left at midnight. So I get to El Salvador, and I'm already late for the first interview. Already landing, right? They're like, when can
Yeah.
you get down here? You know, so whatever. So I get there. I literally, you know, landed, get to the hotel. We're filming at the hotel, you know, unpack everything, and then we shot a Kaiser report. So we shot a few Kaiser report pieces. Um, and then we went to the announcement of the Bitcoin bond, which was like the Bukele's, you know, party for the
Right.
Bitcoin week. And yeah, like, you know, I was like 2 rows, 3 rows away from, you know, Bukele there at the stage, you know, intentionally, right? Like you don't want to be up his nose, you know what I mean? You want a little bit of space. um and so yeah, so I picked up cool footage there, and then, you know, really, um I realized that, you know, I liked being at these places and doing these things because of the people I was meeting, the plebs, and then also like in El Salvador too. Like all the Salvadorans are so awesome and friendly, and like yeah, it was just really cool. I had such a
For sure.
great energy and vibe. You mix the Bitcoin with the Salvadorans, it's like it's a great combination, man. It's like beautiful flavor, and so yeah, so when I got back home, you know, I like read up and learned more about the history of the country, and then, you know, I connected with some like Bitcoiners on Twitter, you know, from El Salvador, and then I ran spaces on Twitter about El Salvador and had like, you know, pro and anti Bukele people, like, you know, and I was just absorbing information. And then I had this idea
This
I
was
wanted
like
to make.
this was
This was
like
a
2021, right?
Yeah, like
Late
November
2020.
21 to like December, yeah, something like that. Yeah, no, November
Okay.
21 I was there. And then yeah, I had this idea when I got back, and I was learning more about the country. I was like, I want to do something. I want to put something together. I'm not sure what exactly, but I have a lot of good footage, and I want to put something together. So my girlfriend and I actually we visited again El Salvador in May, I think. It was
Yes.
like a couple of weeks after the shoot, all those murders, you know.
Right.
And she was already hesitant to go, and then I was like, no, we're gonna go. We're not gonna cancel the plans. Like this is why they're doing this. So we're not gonna let them stop us. So we we went back, and I just like brought my equipment. Actually, I brought my equipment because I had a job that I had to go to. Literally, when I got back from El Salvador, I had to stay at the airport and get on another flight to go to Ohio or something. I don't know, Indiana or
Okay.
something like that to film. So I brought all my equipment, and I'm like, while it's here, I might as well shoot some stuff. So I picked
Right.
up some more things, and one of those was an interview with Camilo, the owner of Palo Verde down in El Zonte at Bitcoin Beach. And yeah, he was basically like, talking about, like, it's in the film, he talks about, like, having to flee the country, and his story, which was, to open a hotel to try to attract tourism, and how
Right.
like ballsy that is, like, Jesus Christ, in a country that has such a bad rap. And he was living overseas, and he went to school, and he could have stayed overseas, like many Salvadorans, and I'm not casting any judgment or anything, and send money back home. But he decided he wanted to go back and try to improve his country. I'm like, damn, that's so cool. And so it really clicked with me then. I was like, okay, I want to make a film, and the focus or the goal of the film will be to try to inspire people to visit El Salvador. Seems like that makes the most sense. And I thought, if they understood the story and see how far they've come, and that it's safe now and it's beautiful, that they would, probably want to come. And so yeah, that kind of got the ball rolling after I interviewed Camilo. And then that was May 2022, and then the film came out September 30th, 2022. I first had the first full cut August at BitBlock Boom. So basically, from May to August, I'm like hacking at a big stone and trying to like carve it into the sculpture that it's going to be, and figuring it out, the placement and the music and everything. And then yeah, August at BitBlock Boom, I shared it with some people there, and like a very very positive response, very positive response. Um, and yeah, and then about a month later, I had the final cut on September 30th, which was an anniversary to when Clinton signed the Immigration Act, September 30th in 1996, which started deporting, basically gang members
The
back,
MS-13s.
yeah, to El Salvador. So yeah, September 30th is when the film came out, and
That's
then I
cool.
think 2 days later, Bukele is reposting it, and then Adopting Bitcoin wants me to come, and then yeah, that's how we met in November 2022 at Adopting Bitcoin.
So it was just before, and like, so it all happened fast from there. Like, you put the video up late September, and like immediately you get the response from Bukele from adopting Bitcoin, or like very shortly after, and in November you're already back in El Salvador making a presentation on this. Yeah, for those that don't know, Bitcoin Shooter made a presentation back in November. You can watch it on YouTube, and the film he's referring to, when you go to bitcoinshooter.com, it's called "Come Back Country: The Story of El Salvador in 10 minutes." So maybe can you just talk a bit about the process more in detail of producing that film? I know you interview a couple of people, mostly in English. Were those like people that came to us back to El Salvador from the U.S.? Maybe just give a few thoughts on that.
Yeah. So the film is, yeah, a combination of interviews and like just cinematography, right, of the country, and like of some of the different events that I went to. um, and then also like assembled footage from different news clippings, and old documentaries from the Civil War, like in the late 70s. And so yeah, it's crazy. I rewatched it again recently, and I was thinking, man, what it must feel like to be a Salvadoran looking back at this old footage of this farmer who's like gonna join the civil war, like in the same
Right.
country, like on the same land that you're on. Like it's crazy. So anyway, so like really the process of the film, the first thing is you're trying to find the flow. And usually when I make films, I'm making them for businesses. And so before we're doing any production, we know exactly what we're going to
Right.
get,
Right.
exactly
Right.
the narration and the flow of it and what we need to pick up. But with this, I kind of did it backwards. So I had to determine the scope. When do I start the story? You know, um, like what do you keep, what do you keep in? What do you take out? Most of the process it really is like sculpting. It's a lot of cutting, a lot of cutting, and seeing when you have lulls or if you're having redundancy and like messaging, you want to cut that out. And so yeah, so just a lot of editing, a lot of playing around with things. But really, halfway through I realized the music was going to be the most important part, and that if I had good music, with like little breaks in the middle, that for sure it would be engaging. Um, and so once I kind of hit that, I was like, okay, I kind of broke it down into subparts. I'm like, okay, I need to cover the Civil War. It's its own little thing. Okay, and then I need to cover like how the gang war started. Okay, and then I need to cover like where like the progression of it. Okay, and so each became its own little episode kind of, and then whatever the vibe was of that topic, I kind of tried to find the best music for it. And so yeah, that's kind of how the process went. And yeah, we'll talk about my next project in a bit, but that's being done
Sure.
the other way, the normal way, where I know what I'm going to be doing before I do it. But yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I agree. The music is very engaging. It keeps you. It's like at first it's very dark with the Civil War, and then it becomes like very happy with with the present. And yeah, I really enjoyed it too. The Salvadorian history is just so interesting. And I particularly like the clip you mentioned about the farmer, like saying like I just got it, like I don't have a choice. Like it's and just to give a perspective from because a lot of people will just say like like guerrilla communists, like crazy people, right? But like when you hear it from directly from someone that and such an old clip, it's more relatable and it's a more balanced view. But that's cool. So proceed. You were saying about your next project. So
Yeah,
what were
and
you referring
just to
to?
touch on that real quick too, I try not to like put in any opinion in the film, um, and like, and the way I see life too is like usually like the most evil isn't done by evil people. It's done by regular people who have been lied to or convinced of something else or incentivized to do something like immoral. You know what I mean? Um, and so I always try to approach
I
every
agree.
conflict with that and not try to cast blame on one party or the other party. I just want to know from the people, like, why are you fighting, And yeah, that's what the farmer is saying. He's like, literally, we don't have food. We don't have anything. And so yeah, yeah, I try not to have any opinions in there. I try to only include facts, and even there was some controversy about like me not covering some of the things that were in the news about innocent people dying that were being arrested, or, like innocent people like a lot of innocent people being arrested without due process, but like I was hard to find out the truth on that. It really is difficult because I didn't see any solid evidence, of like crazy negligence. Like I'm sure innocent people have died, and that sucks, and that's really bad, you know. But it's like for the amount of damage that has been stopped, it's a ton. It's like an elephant, and this innocent person is an ant, and the ant is important for sure, but it's not like they're making it out to seem as what it seemed to me. And so I didn't have anything definitive that I could say on that, but I can definitively say that it was the country was violent for 40 years, and then all of a sudden there's this new guy and this new political party, and from then on everything is changing. That's what the people are telling me. Like I'm just
Exactly.
conveying what the people tell me, you know. Who else can say that they're wrong, you know? Who else is above them? There is no one above the people. So, yeah.
It's exactly that, and that's exactly the message that it sends. It's that it's the people that are saying this. And when you go to El Salvador, when I went, everyone you talk to says the same thing. You know, it's an it's just unanimous. There's obviously some people that disagree. There's obviously some media. There's and international actors, but like 95, 98% of the people on the street will tell you the same thing. You know, so and I think that's the value that's just so incredible. Like I'm Peruvian, my whole family's Peruvian. Like everyone in Latin America, I live in Mexico. Everyone in Latin America dreams of this, you know, because like of having like crime eradicated because it's the main issue, you know, and it's El Salvador is amazing, and for sure there's always negligent, like there's always like everything's a is a net like calculation. Like there's some bad to everything, there's some good to everything, and the important result is how is it on a net basis, and this is by far net positively. And the government has said there's going to be a margin of error, there always is, but I've also told people like bring me the evidence that there are thousands of people arrested innocently and nobody's able to do it because it's probably within the margin of error once again.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting.
Yep. Okay. And then, yeah. So you're asking about the next project. So,
Yeah,
so yeah. So after this El Salvador film, I've had a lot of people tell me that you should do a full length film. Figure something out, do a full length film.
right.
And so yeah, what it's going to be about is like it's going to be my take of an orange pill, I guess, right? Like, Saifedean writes books, and he wrote a really great book, right? A Bitcoin Standard. So I don't write books, right? But I make films. So it's just like it was his stab at an orange pill or getting someone to fall down the rabbit hole, essentially, right? Um,
Yeah,
this will be mine. And the cool thing about film is that you can get a lot of information in a short period of time, right? And if you ask someone to read a book, it's much more effort than asking someone to watch a film. So, what I want to do is create a tool for Bitcoiners really to give to somebody or tell them, hey, okay, if, you're interested in Bitcoin, first watch this thing and then come talk to me and then read this Bitcoin Standard book, basically, Um, but the goal really is then to have it picked up by a big platform like Netflix or HBO or something that can help distribute it. um,
for sure.
I am raising funds for it, so for my investors, the good thing is like these things go hand in hand, right? If I can get it on Netflix, the most people will see it, and also it would generate the most revenue for like the people that are investing in my film. So, yeah, if you watch Comeback Country and you watch some of the interviews on my Twitter, I think you'll agree that my quality is like you can imagine it on Netflix. So I think I can get it there if I get the story right. Um, and so really what it's going to cover is, inflation, corruption, history of like financial collapses from ancient to like, most recent. And then Bitcoin, like the bad things they've heard and people who it's helping, right? And then just looking at the future, like what's the future going to be? And so those are going to be the main pillars of the film. And so part of that will be, interviewing people around the world, um, in places where inflation's crazy, right? Like Lebanon, Argentina. I haven't set the exact countries yet, but yeah, I'll be showing all the different flavors of inflation and people telling stories about what it's like to live through that, right? People in the U.S. Um, and a lot of countries don't understand how bad it's gonna get. I was gonna say it can get, but the reality is it's gonna get, right? And that leads into history. Like it's gonna happen here because it always happens, and it always has happened, and it's already
It
happened to the
always does.
dollar a couple of times. If you think it's not gonna happen to the dollar, It's already happened. Do you know what it looked like? It was awful, right? And so then you hit them with the Bitcoin, right? So it's like a black pill, orange pill. Because
I agree.
I can't imagine learning about all of the bullshit of money and not having Bitcoin. It would just be depressing. Like, why would I even want to bring, like children into
it
this
would it
world?
would be depressing.
Right? It would. It'd be like you would know that every generation would get closer to like a depression type event, or just have more and more inflation and spend more of their time working just to survive. Like basically like slavery, you know? So thank
Hmm.
God there was another boat or another rock for me to go and be like, oh, whew, at least there's this thing here, you know? But a lot of people don't know that. Even like the gold bugs who aren't sold on Bitcoin, it's like, bro, you must know that gold, it didn't work. It doesn't work, man. um so so lead them into that hole, right? Put them there. And the goal is to try to make it relatable to as many people as possible, so it's really going to start with, like, we have basic human goals. We all just want to be healthy. We want to have a house, and we want to raise a family. Like, that's basic, like, and we can't, and it's so hard, and so many people can relate with that in the West now. And
For sure.
the stories are way crazier in other countries. You think, oh, you think you got it bad. And so yeah, so I want to do that in a way where everybody can relate to that. It'll be in multiple countries, so hopefully like a global audience. Anyone anywhere watching can see somebody that they can kind of more relate with. And then, yeah, put them through the Bitcoin stuff, right? Like what it looks like to receive it, to send it, to cold store it, to restore it, like what it looks like to hold the records, to compete to process transactions, like make it real for them. And then, of course, cover all the bullshit that they've heard, right? Like especially energy. Like I want to show some people capping flares, and other things, like using the heat for growing vegetables and stuff, like, and people who like need energy. Like, bro, these people are dying because they don't have energy, like, so um yeah, it's a lot to cover, but in 60 or 90 minutes I think I can smash it all in. And I think if you look at Comeback Country, and basically smash like 50 years, 60 years of El Salvador kind of into 10 minutes, um yeah, I think I can get it all in, dude. So like 60 or 90 minutes, someone can absorb a ton of information, get black pilled, get orange pilled, and then fall down the fucking hole. So that's the plan.
That's a great idea. Honestly, I really like the focus on the problem first, getting someone, and really from a basic perspective, like you say, we all want a house, we all want food. Nothing too fancy and complex, because all the Bitcoin documentaries I've seen always start with like, okay, let's talk about the cypherpunks, very unrelatable to most people. Let's talk about, and it goes from a very tech perspective rather than the problem. What is the problem? What is the problem that billions of people are facing? And look at it from different angles. That's great. And then Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Honestly,
you start with the
I
goal.
would just
What is the goal?
exactly.
What do we want? Like, what is like the common denominator? What's the baseline? Don't ask for anything else, like, hobbies or no, no. Let's just the basics, And yeah, goal, the problem that's in the way, the solution, and what the future can look like. And that's basically how any story is built. So yeah, cool,
Exactly.
man. I'm glad you see it and you like it. And yeah.
I totally like it. So anyone can go to 21fs.tv, and on there you'll find a link to gazer.fund, and you can donate to this project, and you can get a sick cap too, right?
Yeah, those are
Did I get
those
that
are
right?
out now. So that I stopped selling the caps at the end of
Okay.
February for like, or March, or for scarcity. Well, February. So I think I'm waiting for the hats to be in stock. But I think we got like 30. We're making like 30 of them. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so you
Okay.
can go there and you can learn more about the film. And also, like, yeah, if you want to donate, some sats, send me some sats. You can do it on Geyser there. And then, like, 21FS is 21 feathered serpents. Feathered serpent was like an Aztec god, Quetzalcoatl, or like the plumed serpent is another way of saying it. But he was known to be like a bringer of peace and civilization. And many other cultures speak of a similar person. They have like there's like 12 or 13 or 14 different names from different cultures for this same kind of person. So I really buy into Graham Hancock's theory of like an impact. And there was an advanced civilization, before the Younger Dryas, and that they mostly got wiped out, and some people survived, and they kind of spread out around the world, and they went to different hunter gatherers and different civilizations, and they pushed along civilization. And I think that's who the feathered serpents were. And the way I see it now is, they came and taught them how to farm and how to hunt, and like, basic, even more basic than money. But now what the world needs is money. And so me and 20 other investors is the idea. Right? Each investor puts in 25,000 bucks, so it's a $500,000 budget. So me and the 20 investors are the 21 feathered serpents. And so yeah, so if you're somebody who actually has means, or that's interesting to you and you have the ability to do that, then you can reach out to and you can be one of the 21 feathered serpents. I got 8 so
Yeah, I
far. Adam
think.
Back was the first. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow, you already got eight. That's great. Uh, that's yeah. Well, anyone listening, I think this is worth exploring. Definitely check out the Bitcoin Shooters movie. Well, film so project so far, film so far, of 10 minutes on El Salvador. You'll see the great style he has, and you can think about donating or collaborating on this project. One thing I just wanted to mention very quickly is I lately I really like the African angle when it comes to Bitcoin. So just a thought, of Africa. And I know you mentioned like you had mentioned hyperinflation countries like Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
but I think like countries in Africa have like not the hyperinflation, but the currency control, which is another issue that Bitcoin solves. That is really interesting and it's really growing fast right now. And like myself, that's what interests me the most. The African, the currency controls and hyperinflation. Less the number go up in the U.S. Like because it's like it's good if you get everything. If like you study Bitcoin, you study money, you're gonna buy sats in the US, right? But for it to be relatable to any human being, you gotta start at a real problem, a real situation where it actually solves the problem. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, it's just logical.
Yeah. No, definitely. Africa's on the list for that reason, and also like to cover the FUD of the government's going to ban it. Nigeria is a really good case study, and so it'd be nice to
Right.
hear from people directly there about what it was like, and like and actually speak about experiencing that and the breakthrough. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And yes, what it's going to be is it's going to show all these different use cases of Bitcoin being put into action. And the goal is, again, anybody in any country that's facing any one of or all of these problems should be able to look at that and go, oh shit, that's my problem. And he had the same problem, and now he's doing it like this, and this is what it looks like him actually using Bitcoin. Um, I could do that too. So yeah, yeah, it's exciting, man. I'm excited for it. Again, I feel like the
Yeah,
universe
for
is
sure.
lining up, dude. It's putting me here, man. And yeah, like, man, I couldn't be happier. It's so cool.
That's great. Yeah, it really feels your story really sounds like it all went as it should have been. So and that's awesome. So and do you have any like idea of like when are you gonna do this or like what's like the roadmap? I know it's probably
Yeah, no, it's
not
kind of
too
laid
clear,
out.
but
So production will start like in May. Maybe a little bit of filming will happen at Bitcoin 2023. Maybe some plebs talking about like getting wrecked, or you know um, like how Bitcoin kind of changed their life. But like definitely we're gonna have people talking about getting wrecked, so people learn not to get wrecked. Um,
direct like trading or
Trading, or not, not taking self custody, or borrowing,
oh
or you know what I mean. Like you can get wrecked a bunch of different ways. So it'd be nice to hear from people.
for sure.
Um, And
Okay,
so,
okay.
and then yeah, so it'll start in May production, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to pick up all the footage and interviews and everything I need by the end of the year, this year, and then be able to edit it. And when I was doing the El Salvador film, I was doing it on top of like a 60-hour a week work schedule already. So this will be nice because not only when it comes to filming it, but when it comes to editing it too, it's like full time. I'm going to have all that time carved out. So I'm hoping that it'll be done by the halving. And then in terms of release, I'll see if it makes sense to release it as soon as it's done, or if timing would be better. Wait for something to kind of go with it to lift it up. Um, and so yeah, but around this time next year, basically, is when I hope to have it done.
Damn, that's pretty soon actually. It's a lot of work. I have no idea how like the work happens in a film production, but I imagine it's just a lot of work. So, but
Yeah,
it's better to be busy on a
yeah,
project that
yeah.
is so important.
And once you frame it and you kind of know what the story is going to be and where you're going to go and what you need to pick up, it's it gets a little less crazy. But if definitely as you're going along, I can imagine as I'm going along, things will change. I'll hear stories that I'm not expecting to hear or something. So who knows?
Right.
Maybe it'll be a film. Maybe it'll be like a mini series. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm gonna get, but it's gonna be nuts, man. Like it's gonna be nuts, dude. It's gonna be, yeah. It's gonna be so cool, dude.
I can imagine. Okay, well, I'm interested in following your move too. So because I can imagine you're gonna travel to a couple places.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested. Maybe like you go to Argentina, and I can come and check out what you're doing there. Like I'm just interested
Yeah,
in this project.
yeah. I'll let you know, and if you wanna, whatever you wanna tag along, that'd be cool.
Awesome. Okay, well, I just want to maybe you can talk to us a bit about how you perceive film as a communication method. You got a little video on that on your website too, and how you think it could also just be so impactful for Bitcoin. So maybe just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, film communicates the most information. So, I think like 90 or 95% of the information your brain receives is visual, it's through your eyes. And then you have, your ears, and then you have the other senses that do a little bit too. Um, and so, yeah, film just gives you the opportunity to convey the most information in the shortest period of time. Like I said before, right? It's how big is your ask and how big is the reward. And so with a film, super easy ask, and you can get a lot of information on there. And then of course, like storytelling, storytelling's in books, it's in everything really, but um, to get like visuals of somebody, like, and also like faces, our expressions on our faces, they convey a lot of information. Um, so yeah, film just is a way to really reach people and to give them information in a way that's easy for them, like if not even enjoyable for them. Um, and and again, I really think that with Bitcoin, you fall down the rabbit hole once you kind of see the outline of the puzzle. You don't see all the details, but you start to go, oh man, I really see how money that can be inflated really is messing everything up, and I really see how no one can
For sure.
stop Bitcoin. You know, you see the outside, and then you start to fill in like the halving and all these other things that happen. And so yeah, I think that it's the perfect way to put it all, and you put it all into one bite size too, right? Like sometimes if you're digesting content on different topics, like by the time you're on the last topic, you don't maybe necessarily remember the first, and so you have to re-listen to things a few times before they click, but you can just smash it all in right there. Um, so yeah, I really think like, you know, film has the, like, think about Tiger King, dude. Nobody knew who that dude was, right? And then like in one day, everybody is talking about it.
Yeah,
Everybody knows what's going on. And so that's the kind of power it has. Like, obviously, he's a phenomenon. Um, but I think the timing is right for a film that tackles inflation using simple terms, not financial bullshit mumbo jumbo, like just simple things where people that are asking themselves, like, why is everything getting more expensive? You know, what is going to happen next? And what can I do about it? Um, I think people are asking themselves that more and more. And I think that's just going to grow and grow. And, if the next time Bitcoin rips and it's like a 200 grand or something stupid, and the whole world is going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I think Netflix is going to want to buy this fucking film, you know? Um,
Yeah,
so,
why not?
so I really think if things line up like that, like they have been, it really could be a global thing, in my opinion. Like, I don't mean to have any ego whatsoever, but I really believe in my my medium, and I believe in my ability, and I think that this really can change the world. Like, I can really change the world. So that's the goal, dude. That's what I'm setting out to do, and I've been hitting my fucking goals so far, dude, and I'm gonna nail this one.
Awesome, man. I really like the ambition, the determination. You clearly are. You believe in this, and makes others believe in it too. Um, that's cool. Well, I think it makes sense because, well, first of all, timing, like 2024, like 2020 would have been too early. Like COVID hadn't happened yet. Like these things hadn't gone mainstream yet. Inflation wasn't a problem. 2024, like it's already clear, and so a couple more things are gonna happen. And it matches with the halving, so like probably the beginning or like a new bull run. Netflix already has like a series of like what is, and I think one episode is like what is Bitcoin. So like they obviously already have an interest towards this type of content, and it's if it's super well produced, of course, right?
Yeah, and
So
if it's
yeah, I think it all
relatable,
lines up and it all makes sense.
right? Yeah, if it's relatable, and it will be relatable because it's going to be about, hey, we can't fucking buy a house, and we're
Yeah, exactly.
scared about starting a fucking family, you know. Um, so so yeah, yeah, man, I'm excited for it. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
yeah, well, I think your style also matches like is non-partisan and like it's pretty balanced the view so that it can appear in a medium like Netflix. That like sometimes Bitcoiners make like get too political. And like they would never get on Netflix because of that. But I think what you've done so far, from what I see, is the type of content that can appear on multiple mediums that are more balanced, or even to just like you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
even more mainstream, let's say.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's the goal, right? I mean, you want to expose people to Bitcoin, because it's going to make the world a better place. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. One of the other major components to getting the attention of a major platform is like having big faces, known faces. It gives them an easier ability
For sure.
to promote the film. And so I think once I start getting the stories from regular people about inflation and censorship and energy and all these different things, and being able to show that to potential interviewees, hey, this is what I'm putting together. My goal is to get it on Netflix. I want to talk to you about this. Take a look at what I've done so far. Are you interested? I think I'm going to have a higher success rate if they can really see what's getting put together. So that'll be the final piece, is really getting some big marketable faces for some of the different things I want to talk about. So yeah, balanced and faces should be guaranteed.
Do you have any names on mind that you want to share?
I don't know yet, because again, it's a black pill and it's an orange pill, and my inclining is to lean into the black pill for the topic. I mean, for the title. For El Salvador is the other way, comeback country. I guess it's kind of both, but it's more, I guess, optimistic. It's a comeback, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to give away the Bitcoin thing at all. I don't want it to be a part of the title. I don't want it to be. It's not a Bitcoin film. It's a film about inflation and cost of living and censorship and happiness, liberty, you know what I mean? Like it's just the basic shit. um
For
and it
sure.
just so happens that
Which makes it more relatable.
exactly that this is the solution, because people have preconceived notions about Bitcoin too, right? If they hear Bitcoin, immediately they're like, no, I'm not interested, it's boiling the ocean, it does not matter, like, you guys are just investing in it and trying to make a bunch of money and it's boiling the ocean. So no, no, don't do that. Pull them in nice and easy, make them feel bad. It's all, there's no hope, this happens to every money, we're all fucked, wait a second, yeah, yeah, so it's gonna be good.
Interesting. Do you have any like? Did anybody inspire you to do this? Well, let's like I mean like Max Orange pilled you, but I mean, do you have any like inspirations from other filmmakers, or just other? Are you other people doing this in the Bitcoin world, or just in the mainstream world? Maybe filmmakers that you feel like were an influence to your style.
Oh man, I mean, I love film. I love film so much. I watch almost every film. So many great people, right? Like Tarantino's good, Martin Scorsese's good, Spielberg's
Yeah.
obviously great. Like Quentin Tarantino, I like Quentin Tarantino's writing, his dialogue. It's like natural, um, and that's how I kind of like to write my own stuff too. Um, but like, I think because I always made short films for businesses, I always had a song too. Like it's almost like I've been making music videos for 15 years, um, with messaging
I
though,
see.
right? Like, and so I think my style is very much built around music. And so, I mean, I take inspiration from everything, and I don't even know what I take inspiration from anymore. I'm just kind of like blended it all together. Um, but um, yeah, I don't know what my style is, but after a while, you start to see it. Like, you'll see something and you'll think, okay, I think that's shooter. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I guess it will materialize with time. You know, with the next project, it will just
Yeah.
become clearer how to describe
Yeah. I mean,
your
one
style
thing
and
is like I definitely
what
like
it.
to capture a lot of stuff and then cut away from that, you know. So that's one thing is like I know if I always have more than I need. And so it either means I'm going to make something so tight and beautiful, or I'm going to be able to pull it out if I need to pull it out and let it like breathe for a little bit. So yeah, that's why I know like with the El Salvador film, it's just a few interviews that I had done, and I use so little of those interviews to keep it within 10 minutes, right? Like there's the full 5 minute interview, not the full, but a longer 5 minute interview with one of the women that I had interviewed, talking more like way more detail. Like if you just watched Comeback Country, you would have no idea the level of shit that she has gone through. And so like imagine that times 30, people in all different kinds of countries talking about inflation and censorship and getting around it and having hope. And again, like I'm going to have so much to work with. I don't even know exactly what it's going to look like yet. Um, but I know that I'm going to have so much that it's going to be like, man, it's going to be so polished. Like it's going to be so just perfect, man. So anyway, I don't remember what the question was.
That's. No, I don't remember either. It's okay. I think you answered it. Well, my question was that like if you got anyone like that influenced you
Yeah.
that
Everyone,
or
man.
like inspiration.
Everyone.
It makes me think about Mr. Beast. Like he makes videos like this guy stayed in this house for like 100 days. I paid him to stay in this house for 100 days, and like so he has 100 days worth of content, like in like from 15 cameras. So he has 15 times 100 days of content, but makes a 10-minute video, and what you watch is the 10-minute result, but they have to go through like hundreds of hours of content, like hundreds of days of content. It's crazy, you know. And but I guess that's what like good films are about, you know, just taking a lot of content and just reducing it
Yep.
and keeping the message the most
Yeah,
clear.
it's like a sculpture. Yeah, exactly. And it makes it easier because really the messaging is the backbone, right? So when you interview people, and so you can have interviews transcribed, right? So then you have it in text form. You can search for different like words or sent. Oh, I remember this person talked about this, and then you can kind of search to where it is. and hear it more clearly. And eventually you kind of then have like a visual script. You know the words that are going to be said in your film, and then the visuals that are going to go with it. So yep.
Right. Interesting. That's awesome. Okay, well, before we end, maybe talk to us. You have another
Yeah.
project, probably not as important, but still, I think 21FS is going to be like your magnum opus. But talk to us about matchmystacks.com.
Yeah.
How you got the idea, what it is.
So matchmystacks.com, the idea is to pair students who want to save in Bitcoin with donors who want to match the student's savings, like up to like $10 a month, basically, right? Because $10 in other countries is different than $10 in your country, perhaps. So um, um, I got the idea a while ago, and I never really did anything with it. But the cool thing about Bitcoin, right, is when you have a wallet, you have an XPub, right? You have a private key, you have a public key. Whoever has the public key can see all of the accounts, all of the addresses, all of the activity that happens within that wallet. So there's like, usually you don't want to share that with anybody, because why would you want anybody to know all of that? But in this program in
Right,
particular, it gives the donor the confidence that the student is saving the money, right? It's like, for sure they're not
right,
spending it, and they're down. More people are down to match someone's savings if they know for sure they're gonna actually save for it. And so that's how the program is designed. The students know that if they withdraw any money from their wallet, the program ends and they can no longer be matched with another donor. Or maybe that'll change in the future. But like, there's consequences. If you want to keep saving, and have it matched, then you got to keep stacking. So yeah.
right.
So as of right now, there's only 3 students that are being matched. We were kind of just doing it a little bit slowly. Actually, 2 students from me, Premier Bitcoin, and 1 business owner in the Philippines that I got connected with through the guys down there at I forget the name of the group down there, but they're in the islands of Boracay or something like that. Anyway, she was accepting
Okay,
payments in Bitcoin, but she was converting it to fiat basically always. And so this got her to download Blue Wallet, write down her seed words, you know, um, deposit in there to save it. I matched it, and then she, copied her XPub, deleted the Blue Wallet so it's not spendable anymore, and imported the XPub so she can still see her stack and send to her stack. And she understands that, hey, I can see it, but I can't spend it. And so it's cool. Like, we got somebody cold storing for the first time because I was going to give her $10 a month. You know what I mean? Like, fucking totally worth it.
right,
So now, me, Premier Bitcoin, we're scheduling a call in the near future to talk about scaling it up. So I have 13 people already that want to match a student, and so I think I see it like a lightning channel, right? Like, probably there'll be times where I have a lot of students who are looking for donors, and then we'll kind of get there, and then we'll have donors that are looking for students, and I think it'll kind of always give the project a reason to get out there. Like, hey, we got 10 students looking for, or vice versa. So I'm not
right.
spending a bunch of time doing it. I'm kind of just letting it develop as it goes. And actually, some people told me that they're doing it on their own, like with their kid, or like with somebody they met in another country. Like, oh, thanks for the idea. I'm doing it just on my own with somebody else. I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome.
Right, right, because anybody can do it. Bitcoin is just permissionless, so it gives the
Yeah,
idea.
and I don't give a shit, right? Like, I don't need any like recognition, or I don't care. Like, yeah, if more people are saving Bitcoin, fucking great, dude. That's awesome.
Exactly, and just better for the world, better for everyone. That's cool. So now you have more people that want to, uh, like, let's call it like invest, but not invest, like pay
To
the
match.
savings
Yeah.
of
Yeah, so
other
it's match
people
my
to
stacks,
match, right?
right? So the students are stacking and they're
Right,
matching.
right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. So you got more people that want to match than students, but that's probably gonna catch up with you're working with Mi Primer Bitcoin,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
and right, interesting. Cool. Matchmystacks.com. Everyone go there, learn more about matching the savings of a student, probably in the third world, I imagine. El Salvador, Philippines, you mentioned. Not, it's not going to be a Canadian
Right, yeah.
student, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the only element of trust in the program is really the like so the students are coming from El Salvador from Me Premier Bitcoin for now, and then of course I'm open to other organizations that will come and but there will be that trust. We are trusting the person at Me Premier Bitcoin, you know, is having a student actually send us the XPub and he's not
Right.
just fucking, But um, if they were actually doing that, if someone was doing some shady shit, it'd probably be a cheap way to discover somebody who's fucking shady. But anyway, I don't think anyone's that stupid. So yeah, that's the only trust involved.
I don't think so. It's free money. Like, why would you
Yeah,
ruin
yeah.
this? And in the future, there are some Bitcoin tech that could allow you to like make like send your private key in a way that you can prove that you don't have it. Like it's state chains and like space chains are technologies that would have no blockchain trace. So like someone could think that someone's saving, but they're actually spending their Bitcoin.
Whoa.
But this is very
Yeah,
far
yeah,
away, and it's not nowhere close. But just I just wanted to share that
yeah.
it might one day not be a foolproof solution that
Right.
just checking the
Yeah,
Xpub
yeah.
would work,
Yeah,
but
even now, people were
nowhere
talking
close.
about like, oh yeah, they were kind of concerned about the XPub and the privacy, and maybe you can build something on Lightning. I'm like, I'm not building shit, man. Like, I don't know how to do that shit. Like, no one's gonna give me money to fucking build this thing. It's not that bad. The privacy concern, like, if they're stop using the program, they just move it to a new wallet, and then I can't track what's happening. I can't see the rest of their shit there. So yeah, this
Right.
is good enough as it is for now, and yeah, probably by that time in the future, maybe we won't need to incentivize people to save. They'll just, I mean, it'll be the only option they have. Inflation is just gonna get worse, man. Like that's what happens.
Right. Exactly. Awesome. That's really cool. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much all. Unless you wanted to share anything else, but I'm just gonna tell the listeners to follow you on Twitter, Bitcoin Shooter. Very exciting stuff. I see you do release content from time to time, right? Like video segments that you had previously, like that were extra from like the previous project. You do release some content. Is that gonna? Should people expect that? Like,
Probably not for now. I mean, I was doing it before, but to be honest with you, it kind of like I treated it like any other business activity. It was like a plan. I had edited a bunch of pieces of content when I was announcing the film and raising funds for it. And
right,
so, I kind of start to build some momentum and then announce the film and then kept reminding or, just showing up. You know what I mean? Um, and so it was more to get attention, and awareness of what I was doing so that I can raise
for sure.
investment and to make sure that there was enough people out there that were going to help me before I decided to like fucking carve out a year and and really start to write and to plan and everything like that. So yeah, so no, probably won't be putting too much stuff out unless like I get in a rut and like I kind of like am at a standstill with writing or working and that's what I need. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, man, I just want to like, oh, I remember this thing a while ago and I just want to edit it this morning. It'll take me like 45 minutes. I'll just chop it up real quick and I'll put it out. So
Right,
maybe something like that. But other than that, now I'll just be focusing on my body and staying healthy and planning this film and just talking to people. There's so much I have to do, man. You got to have resources on the ground, translators in different places. So yeah, I'll mostly be doing that.
focus on the
That's right,
mission.
man. That's right.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Bitcoin Shooter, for coming on the podcast. Everyone, go follow him on Twitter. Go check out his website, bitcoinshooter.com. From there, you can find the other links to the other websites, but it's 21fs.tv and matchmystacks.com. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. This was very fun. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this
Yeah, man.
project.
Me too. Me too, dude. All right. Thanks again. It was a lot of fun, man.
All right. Awesome.